Wake up, goddammit. Welcome to MARKETcast with Unk and Market Monk. Morning, P. How was your week?
It was good. I had some real tight focus early in the week. Burlington Coat Factory was I was most of my trades that day were in that, so I just sort of stuck with that one. And then some of our other reads, crypto, um, all crypto on Friday was the only thing I messed with. I just didn't nothing else really jumped out at me, and then we kind of saw there was a lot of stuff would either dip or go up about 1% and then just kind of find an equilibrium. Not exactly what you want with options trading. So I just don't think Friday was a great day, and that was something we mentioned last week, so people should have been prepared for that.
Yeah, I was real light. Monday was good. With you said it, this crypto. The one I'm not going to mention until Twitter does because we've been on it for a few
Yeah.
months. And then Hut and Hive actually did really. I wanted to talk about this in this part because it's pretty much mainly because it was one of the only trades I made, but it just kind of how the market's working. But I traded tall. I was in tall, and it went to $10. Super great trade. What I wanted to do, but we closed the weekend at like 11. No way I'm hanging out in that all week, especially with just how the market felt. So when Tuesday came, I didn't really see much I liked. The volume was kind of low, and we weren't dropping. Um, Actually, earliest I probably looked at SPY in a while in the week, to be honest. Um, same with Wednesday, and then it just was kind of like, why even mess with this on Friday? I mean, I kind of had that plan in general, so I was looking for pullback that just never really happened um, after
Yeah, and
a
here
decent Monday. So that was pretty much my week.
here's the deal on Tal is a good example of this, and a lot of China is like this. Bidu had a good week off earnings and everything, but you look at Hang Seng every day. Every day I look at it, it's down 1%, 1.5%, 2% in the overnight session. By the time the U.S. rolls around, pre-market drops do not last, and so I think you almost have to. I mean, I follow the ETFs and indices and all that, but you have to kind of cut some of the noise with that and just trust what you have, the levels that you have, flow you see. But you just don't linger in Chinese ADRs. When you get big pop you're after, call it good, and then you just you come back to it or find the next one, or whatever. But uh, the overall market health of China, like every day, does not look that great. But a lot of these stocks are still responding, and stuff like education, EV to some extent is a little bit isolated from that. Seemingly, they're just kind of doing their own thing, and we see that with American stocks with reference to SPY as well. So when we're on China, like we're not just picking them random. I don't think we're in kind of a China full send or anything like that, but there's still plenty that are in a good spot, and they're not discouraged by pullbacks in their market overall.
Yeah, don't search this group. 679 is when we were on this guy. I mean, definitely not hanging on to that for that whole move, but when it starts consolidation, doji candles, right? It's a
Mm.
pretty easy thing to hang out in if you get that sizing right. This is what it is.
Yeah, that
I
like that
got
20-cent range it does. Yeah.
yeah. You just get some shares. I sold this up in this guy, right? This is what I didn't get. I didn't wait all week, so I mean, it is what it is, right? It is what it is, and that.
Yeah.
Um, but you just take the money and you trade it when it's available again. Um, yeah. There's a lot of charts like that though, P in general that you can just. I mean, I wouldn't go full size just in case they get news um, in the wrong direction, but you can just hang out and take your percent um, down the road, and it's possible that the trend's just going to stay in.
Yeah, and
And
I
that's
think
without that's oh I gotta get this part out, and that's without doing
yeah.
any homework because I'm gonna start stressing this shit again. That's without doing any homework on seeing if there's like a bunch of short interest or their actual financials or their last earnings report. You know, just simple three things you should be doing to kind of know the state of the business and what to look for in the news. If you're not doing that, like if that's too much time for you, you know, finding a decent level that you can hold on to and hang out in is probably the best option for you.
Yes, and I think so. Option side on Tal, I'd have to look up what exactly got me into that. But on this round, let's say it was January 10C 12C, right? And that's like 12C still on track to do well. But I think if you had bought that when we talked about it, definitely on that move over 10 would have cleared most of that.
Yeah,
And
it's
so I think if you are in a trade like that and you want to keep some option side, I think you just actually go out to the next year and you just say 2025 12C. I'll take, you know, $200 out of this profit. So, I'll buy 3 calls and I'll just keep them. And that's the trade. And I'll cut them, I don't know, minus 50%. There's so much time on those. But then you do get this extra move, and you're in it, and you then get another 60% or whatever on those options. But you've taken risk off the table. You're not trying to time these moves in the Chinese stuff. You got your move you wanted. Secondary move, usually harder to time. So that's how you can stay in it there. And I think you take the same approach with shares. It's just limited free shares. Let it go. So that's kind of what I'd recommend there.
Yeah, for me, it's a good example to what we said last week with similar style. Our previous setup. I mean, this thing, it hit my RTL down here and consolidated. The flow was supportive, so we played it. It hit my RTL here on the day. The flow was supportive, so we played it. I mean, it's pretty basic. For me, stuff like this, you don't. That's part of the rules, right? You don't really hang out in these. I mean, you could keep winning
Yeah.
shares in this. I just think you're better off with something inside. I don't know how else to say it, but inside the states.
Yeah, no, right. I mean, because when Tal pulls back to 970 or something, it's like, what stops that from going back to where it just was a few days
Sure.
ago to 940? I mean, there's nothing. Like, it's absolutely nothing. So I'm totally with you on that. And don't feel like you need to get the whole move with these.
You don't
They
you
pull
don't you
they pull
feel
way back.
don't you feel the same way about Pet Rock Crypto? I mean, I do. It's not something I'm trying to like build up. I'm not building a position in Hut like I'm building a position in Fubo. I'll tell you that right now. I mean, let's just be real.
Well,
But
yeah, I
yeah,
mean, I don't like MSTR and Coin. They don't really let me do that. And what I mean by that is, so if you ever look at like MSTR, MSTR, I'll do that one because I have done leaps in that, but it does so well so fast, you can't keep it. You just can't. I mean, so
yeah,
on like the weekly on MSTR, this move really most of the year, like through the summer, up to 440, and then it pulled back, and I looked for it kind of off my levels. Well, when it got to that previous high again at 435, for a long time that was my highest level on it. Got to get out there. I mean, I can't this. But then I just go back and find a new way
to trade it.
to trade it.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And then this 488 level starting to build.
Yep.
I zoom out. I'm like, I mean, yeah, it could go to 600, 700, whatever the hell crypto is going to do. But yeah, I mean, you can't. You also know the range goes both ways, and that's why the aggressive pullbacks in crypto are why they're so good to trade. They don't just gap up and just hang out there. I had a paper stock one time I found that went up 70% or something, and then it just parked there for months. Well, I can't trade this anymore.
Yeah.
But crypto's not like that. Crypto's going to give you the range. But yeah, I mean, the hardest thing for me ever since I've been trading, it's a good problem to have. There's some hard things that are bad problems to have, but the hardest thing to deal with has been what, getting a forever position in coin. What does that what does that mean? Unless you held on to something at like $50, I don't think that we're there. I mean, I don't even think at 72, I don't think you're there. If you got in at 72.53 and you still have some, that's great. Have an exit in mind though. Because it can come right back. It might not. It might build strength at 100 and then go to 140 to 160. I don't know, but yeah, that one's a lot harder. It's not like Yeti, or it's not like Google or Facebook or Netflix. Some of these where we've had an entry that I think you can just pretty much hold. Crypto's definitely not like that.
Your whole conversation here makes me think of two stocks, and one of them, it'll blow your mind when I say it. I know you're gonna go, "Oh yeah, no shit." Um, but one I trade, and I invest in. I don't know how else to say that, right? And it's Nvidia and Tesla, and that's exactly. I mean, what you said early on
Mhm.
is exactly why. Like Tesla's coming back. Like I'm not getting
Yeah,
the.
yeah,
I'm,
yeah,
I'm I'm not getting. Don't search the group. I'm not getting the. If you're gonna hold for 5 years, this is the spot level. I'm not gonna get that level, but I'm gonna get a decent entry that
yeah,
I'm comfortable with. Where Nvidia, it just is a freight train that doesn't stop. I mean, you just jump on the boat and hold on for time, and you should do okay. This cycle's just been shorter than the last two that I've been involved in. So, but
yeah.
that's the key is that range you talk about. And even when the video was at 4, I was like, well, we're either going to 500 or 350, and you see what panned out 2 or 3 weeks later. And I do the same thing with Tesla, but the difference is that just the chart psychology and the way it moves.
yeah, absolutely. And that's why, I mean, we do look for, what do we think is the next kind of stock that could be that. And we're still so early, but ARM could be that. I mean, like, I think that they have a big enough share of the market and partnerships and all of that. Such a new stock, but it has a lot of potential, I think, to fall on that kind of investment side. Um, for me, something like, well, okay, they're in the same sector. They're very similar stocks. Snow, I have trouble keeping Snow with when I get it at our entry, just because it's gone back there like three times now, and we might be on the fourth. So yeah, I like that average at like the one in the 130s, but it gets to 180. It's kind of hard for me to keep that. Um, MDB though, MDB I have an easier time keeping because the move up was so dramatic. So everything under 220 with that one, I'll go ahead and keep that. But yeah, a lot of our stuff is in that tighter range. It's that price discovery, goes back and finds lows. So you can have great companies, great stocks, but they still just kind of keep coming back. And I don't I don't think it's, as an investor, even I want to be up 40-50% on shares and then go all the way back. I don't I don't feel comfortable doing that. So I'm pretty picky about my Nvidias, but I do have a few. I have your phrase, the count looks healthy when when the stock's up.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
so uh, so yeah, I'm getting into that. Trying to build 100 shares and a couple things to sell calls on them. That sort of thing too.
One thing I want to unk on it's not necessarily at you, but there's a slice of the pie here for you for sure. Is you still
Yep.
need like because the market's gonna cycle. You still, I mean, what you gonna like will these shares to somebody? Like at some point in time, you're gonna
Yeah,
sell.
yeah,
Let,
yeah,
let's
yeah,
just
yeah.
let's get that out the way because this I'm gonna hold forever. It's just something that's a fallacy. Like you don't hold forever.
Yeah.
You should still have some sort of a plan. In general what you want to do because it's like an orange. Even if you got the best orange and you're squeezing it and it's just giving you juice for years, eventually that juice is going to taper out a little bit and you want to go back to a more juicier orange. um,
Yeah.
so yeah, I don't like the forever. I still like kind of having a plan. And to jump right into that, well shit, what's your plan? Well, I always have spots where I will cut. And the first cut is usually pretty big. It's usually like 50%. Like I'll just take
Yeah.
it. So if we get to a point where I'm like, it just changes my mindset on trend on it. It's more of a TA play to be honest with you. But if it changes the trend, I'm just out half there. And I mean, you really can't lose from there. Um, Even if you do go, like you say, go all the way back to entry. Um, Next cut's 25%. And then after that, you're usually close to free shares, or you should be if you're in a long term thing. 25% is not crazy. Um,
Yeah.
so that's just how I do it. But you gotta always have. I mean, there's always a plan. That's really paid off the last like 3 or 4 years too, to be honest with you, because we've been in such a sideways or just no, we're not going to go up. We're going to have a level down market. So being able to trade in that environment, um, having that plan, you just have to have it, especially with your winners. You have to. I think you have to manage winners better than losers. Losers, you just got to walk away
Yeah.
from.
Right. And so like on the option side, like you get a win, the endless rolling that people talk about. Well, I'll just keep rolling it, rolling it. So like Roku, we talked about that last week. I don't think at $95 roll Roku options because you're just looking at. I mean, at best, you're gonna go retest 90, probably 83, or 84, or something like that. And so, what are you really rolling? You're gonna roll and then lose $10. And those options will look terrible. So you just have to have a point where it's like, okay, I've had enough getting off this ride, and I lingered too long in Roku probably, but did get a good pop Monday. Went ahead and got out at that point. But yeah, I mean that's just another one. They had a good response to earnings. Company has a lot going in the right direction. Nothing's really changed about this stock, and it's still going to have the same huge range that it's had. Where it's not going to go to $260 anytime soon. So you get out
Yeah, well,
on
if you
one like
don't
that.
sell at 95, 96, 94, 93, 90, whatever the hell 90 you got out at, I don't think you're going to be
Yeah.
comfortable. You're not going to be as comfortable wanting to buy at 80 when it gives
Uh,
that
yeah, no, right,
opportunity again.
exactly.
And that's still a
Yeah,
really good trade, especially option side. I think a 15% move is a great trade on the option side if you get this 80 to 95 range. But if you don't get some off the table, if you're still in it, it drops back to 80. Your mindset isn't buy more. Your mindset is, oh, is this still going to be good? And you just,
I bought it for $58
yeah,
like
yeah,
2 weeks ago.
yeah.
So I mean,
Just
yeah, you
take
just
this
take the win. You take the win.
at
Yeah,
least half the win, right? Like,
yeah,
be a but that's a great. I never even thought about this. I'm glad we talked, Pete. If you take half off the table, you're a bull and a bear.
yeah.
You bulled out. I'm keeping it, and you bared out. I'm selling some now. This is all it's got. You basically split the road. There you go. I mean, that's a great way to look at it. Um, so you can't be wrong from that point. You're half right either way.
Yeah.
Jesus. Um, I had one note this week, and hopefully it just leads to a conversation. Um, don't focus on like losing charts, like because some people just like, oh, it's going down again. It really what made me think of this is all the crap you post from Twitter because it's usually pretty
Yeah, yeah.
bearish in nature. But it's gonna go down. It's going down. It's going down. If you think it's going down, quit looking at the damn chart. It ain't gonna help you in the long run. You're not gonna be some bearish $1 million option put trader. You're just not. Give it up. Just give it up. Go find something that's gonna go up or that's gonna go to a spot. It's gonna drop since you like watching shit that's falling. It's gonna drop to a spot that you're gonna trade it at. But if you're not gonna trade it, quit watching it. Just you're wasting your time. You're just wasting your time. All right, I'm done with that rant. But yeah,
There is
I see
one.
that a lot.
There's only one setup. It really well. Oh, there's two. Okay. The main setup where I like puts is a strong uptrend that needs to pull back and test a level, and the flow is there. It goes and does that. Happens all the time. I have half my notes are these pivots. LLY 592 around $600. I'm like this. If this flushes early, I like it. I like a put to the line. Sometimes it breaks below, has a bad day, and you make a great trade out of that. But the main thing is I'm trading my way into calls. That's what I'm always trying to do. And I think you don't have to even take the put there. And I don't think beginners. It's hard to it's hard to play both ways like that. So I do it. I describe what I'm doing. I don't think you have to do that. The only other setup is earnings. I see a clear look on earnings. I'll play puts on it. But usually, most of these they don't gap down and stay down. John Deere was a great example. I was adamant that we were going to go to 365 on earnings. Ended up going to about like 358, but within half a trading day, it's back up to 372. Chasing puts, the absolute worst thing that you can do. It's much worse than chasing calls. And I think that the market, the sentiment, mood, whatever is up. Stocks, that's that cliche, stocks only go up. Not true at all. But at the same time, the market is kind of constructed in a way where they look for optimism. There's more buyers than sellers. So I put to call ratio is constructed the way it is, where the market's gonna favor calls. The intraday activity, all the zero DTE stuff, calls. So yeah, you're up against it on if you want to be bearish, and you can have all the macro ideas that you want. It's not going to help you day to day. It just hasn't how it's been. It's not. It's rare. It's rare we have an extended period where puts are better.
That's how it is. I mean, you gotta. I assume you gotta be picky in that regard. I didn't want to really hound on the shorts too much, but
yeah,
I just don't. I don't get that.
I
guess it's because I look for pullback to a level. Like you use Deere, I can use Crocs, same thing. But it's just one tradable for me. But it was the same. Like I'm licking my chops when that happened. Shout out to secondary for getting a piece of that. Appreciate you, boss. But most people don't have that plan. They're just like, look, it's going down. It's going down. Oh, down again. Well, stop. Just move on. Or find a spot. Or find a spot. Find a spot.
Like coin. Don't short coin at 72.50. Look now. You're going to get some good range to the downside, and it's going to happen even if BTC's flying intraday. Get those 3-4% pullbacks, and so short something that's strong. It's like the RSI is overheated, and it's a stock that has that big range like that. SMCI, AVGO, they're like that too. But yeah, I mean, do that. But I'm taking Carvana to zero. Missed the generational short on Carvana by a lot. And like, what are you doing down here? Or Piton. Yeah. You're going to take Piton from 5 to 0. Well, you could have taken it from 270 to 150. Yeah. That was the time to short it. Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah. No. The reason I'm like don't is because it ain't gonna help you if you do win and you need to like invest some money because you're just not gonna have the right mentality. You're just looking at everything the wrong way. You ain't helping yourself in the market in general. It's probably gonna sour your taste of the market, and then you're gonna be on your way out and never come back. And that's not what we want either. So.
Well, I mean, like, yeah, what are you building towards it? Like, are you going to be a short seller and short shares?
Yeah.
It's hard to do. Yeah, no, that's even harder than puts. Like,
yeah, you're not going to do
that. Yeah. Right.
The market is made to go up. Got a note here about to talk about a little about sectors. You want to hop into that?
Yeah.
Jump right
yeah. So, okay. So there's couple of sectors that did not make my sector focus, but I do like. So gold's over 2,000. The miners, with respect to the gold price, there's a big divergence there. They're way oversold, but I think that we are going to use our history with those. I'm going to look for the right flow setups, and we just didn't have enough volume last week to really for me to make a lot of determinations. I do like one that you selected though. So I'm still on those. I haven't just gone so tech heavy that I'm ignoring everything else. So I wanted to emphasize that. So that's where gold is. Silver is also looking really pretty strong. Would kind of like to see it move past 26. It's at 24.30 right now, but a lot of silver stocks are lagging. But again, that has been the way things have been for a while now. So trying to sift through all those laggers, like that's what I'm after with those sectors. And then oil. Uh, I'm pretty bullish on oil. If you're talking to me about March and through next summer. So the question is, which are in a good spot for us to look to add? Uh, Oil. I don't think oil's in trouble unless like if 70 were to break down, and that would be bad. But I think anywhere from we're going to stay kind of in the 75 to 84, 85, something like that. I kind of expect us to hang out there for a while, but I'm looking for it to kind of gather some strength and move to the upside. So I would expect oil and materials. I mean, talked about aluminum looks pretty strong still. So expect over the next few weeks sector focus on those to kind of cycle back around because I do think January through March is going to be pretty good for everything I just mentioned.
I was I had a different I don't know how to say it. Different mind. I thought you were going to talk about completely different stuff going in. You hit all the super boring raw material kind of outlook, so it's interesting there. I'm going to use my time here to talk about the sector stuff we've already done, and just like anything that we do, um, usually it starts off with a home run and then we perfect it. But the first sector we ever did was crypto, and that led us that led us on to other things. I mean, currently we've been in the real estate, um, and the airlines was one, and then the casinos. Like, kind of looked at the four or five of those, and now with the burger index coming up. I mean, we'll probably hit four or five more of these, and then people will get on it. But I think those are worth the price of admission right now because it's just so much. I mean, you're doing it, but it's a lot of work bottled
Yeah, yeah.
into a little spot. You get a lot of
Well, right. Well,
bang for your buck there.
we're actually talking about the same thing, and here's what I mean by that. Like, there's gonna be some weeks where half the hot list is oil,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
half the hot list is gold. So
yeah.
that
No,
I'm
I
just
think
saying,
I think
like,
we're talking about the same thing. I was just saying our room kind of that's the where the
yeah, yeah,
value's at right now is that stuff. Like that's all you should be paying attention to. I mean, we'll
and
do the due diligence work in between for reports and the
mhm.
basic news, but these full sector outlook moves. I mean, I've seen it. That's what attracted me to you in the first place with that oil. They're gonna have that run again, so I just think
and
that's
the
that's
and the
where we're worth our money.
yes, and the beginning of those moves happens when the stocks look bad,
Yeah.
or when it looked awful and now look okay. Like we can just kind of see the signs there. They've hit a level and found some strength. The flow comes in, and so it's often a several weeks process. I mentioned that with batteries in one of my notes today, and yeah. So that what we've done is we've refined how that comes about and more importantly how we present that to people. And I think that is a strength of the room and something that will keep building going forward.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a crappy penny trader, so when I start talking about like real companies, I'd pay attention. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
I mean, I understand avoiding the LLBYP or whatever pops up, PRT, whatever. Yeah, don't trade those. But when I start talking like Disney, what up, Christian?
Yeah.
Pay attention. I got him a really good entry on Disney. He should be looking. He's over there studying. That man's over there studying. Like, all right, I gotta pay attention. Miners were hard for me though, P. Like you said, those charts were ugly. And here, I'll just put the one that I caught news on this one, so we'll throw it up. Um, But I mean, the candles are quick. I mean, they're ugly to quick. It just is really, really, really quick. Um, so you got to scale in. I guess that's the
Yeah,
point of that.
yeah, you do. And then I'll call up one for you. So SBSW,
Yeah,
hated on that one for a long time.
yeah,
Just had a
$3.
just disaster. I liked it when 8 seemed like it was gonna be kind of strong, and I was like, okay, I'll look here, and then 6, right? And it broke down below that. I don't know, and then and then it just we just keep doing that. And Yeah, I've seen Twitter all over this one as like some no brainer to add it. I can't really endorse that. Um, Even with flow, it's had flow the whole time because everyone's thinking it's going to turn around. So I think you're better off with our previous winners that um, have shown strength. Barrett Gold or someone like that. But yeah, we'll get into those. I'll have a lot of homework on that. I don't envy someone who's a beginner trying to trade gold and silver stocks, because that history we have with these is going to be so valuable and getting the right ones here.
And I'll say it with that guy right there because that's the golden ticket. Country of origin, and if they're from a foreign country, make sure they're the number one of that country.
Ah, yeah,
You don't want the
absolutely.
third. You don't want the 13th rated gold miner from Nigeria. You don't want that.
Right.
All right. Want to predict some spy here, sir?
Yeah, let's do it. Yep.
50. Let's see. Let me get the other chart out. I like the other chart. Bam. Let's see. So 56 was the high, and 52 was the low. So you were close on the high. Neither of us were close on the low. I was way off on the low, to be honest. Um, but definitely kind of just staying up above our level. I mean, yeah, yeah. That, high and tight, right? That's what I'm calling it.
Yep.
Um, I, I'm lost. I'm lost on this chart. That's why I don't trade it, to be honest. It just got no breaks, and I don't know where it's coming from. I mean, nothing's been great, right? We've had some pops and stuff, but the melt up has moved this
Yeah.
more than I thought. That's how I'm going to say it.
Yes, and I think on the option side there. So during that last the big pullback we had, um, the options were readable. Because I'm like, okay, 420, um, and 415, and 410, like bid side, ask side, all that, and puts still dominate flow, but it's almost like they're just peeling these off. They're selling them to close, or they're selling them to expire worthless, but they're not really building much of a much of a floor here above. It's still 420, so it's mid December 420. I don't think we follow that. Those are heavily bid side, but my point is they're not selling to open a lot of 430, 440, anything like that. So I think that the pullbacks to me are going to just be just kind of taking a breather, setting up to go higher. That's where I think
Was
we're at with
was
this.
there anybody else talking 460 in the last 2 months besides me that you know?
No, not
No,
really. I didn't
no,
see that. No.
no.
Because a lot of them, like, they predicted like maybe a year end rally from lower than where we were.
Were
You know,
sure.
go
Um,
go under 400 and then go from there.
Talking heads. I watch a lot of news. I'm like two different channels on type of guy. A lot of times, different rooms, stuff like that, just to get information. Um, those guys are out there selling stuff to the big dogs, right? Like those are BlackRock spokespeople. Let's be real. Um, they were talking Friday because that's when I was definitely fat on the couch. Um, that this was the Santa rally, like it just started early. So that was like their kind of end of the week perception of where we are. Um,
Mm.
uh, I don't. I'm still like, who's selling? I mean, that's what we've lacked since. I mean, we had it in the summer a little bit, but let's say since October, we've just lacked the sellers in the market, right? And I mean, I'm just not seeing them. I'm just not. I mean, we had a really big um, volume influx the first of the month, so I'm looking for that
Yeah.
because we got the first of the month coming again, right? I mean, I definitely think that's going to set the tone. But it seems like that first week sets the tone. We get a move in a direction, and then we melt the rest of the month that way. That's just what I've noticed since the summer. Um, so
Yeah.
so yeah. I mean, that's why the last conversation happened. We focus on sectors because those are moving more independently.
Mhm.
But the first is Friday, so I mean, we're running into that again. I as much as I like to say 460's coming, I still think the four, not necessarily a gap fill down, but like 430, 440 is kind of where it should be. Um, so
Yeah.
I'm
I'm with you on
I'm
that.
gonna play that. I mean, I think I just don't see what's gonna pull us back there a week Black Friday. I mean, what's super negative at this point? We've taken a lot of punches over the last couple of years, so
Yeah, and the rare thing to see now, like we don't get the a futures gap down that has any follow through. Haven't in so long, that it gaps down 0.5% and then closes the day -1%. So rare in SPY. It's happened a few times with Nasdaq, but yeah, that's been um, that's been something that you're just not seeing lately.
my
So
my
yeah, I think
my
this
20
is a
day
tough week to pick numbers.
my 20-day volume profile is 434 on SPY. That's just 20 days. That's 20 days. I mean,
Right.
that's not 3 years is 443, and that 411 on the 1 year. Shout out to that 411. For me, it's trying to find the negative news, and I don't want to say I'm a conspiracy theorist, but I'm like a big picture. But my gas prices all of a sudden are, I said you've seen the picture. That wasn't for nothing. That's the first time I've
Yeah.
seen it under $4 in a while. Um, I think they got to clean this up for the election a little bit, right? The market's got to be good. The gas price got to be better. We got to get a sense of some
Yeah.
relief. Um, so I'm mindful of that. Uh, but where's the height and can we pull back? And I do think we pull back. So since the numbers are so crappy this week, I'm just going to take 3 year volume profile and add $3 to it. So 447, 41. Um,
Right.
just showing some strength. I'm just going to show strength off that. It's a huge bottom. Um, but we can't break four. I mean, if it's 460, it's like 460.69. Shout out Goose, and that'll be my top.
Right. I'm
Yeah,
gonna
lost,
pick
like you
up here.
said, just lost right now.
Yeah. All right. So I'm gonna say for 6109, and that's too low. Or there it is. Or 4444.
All fours, huh? Even lower than me. Interesting. That's real close here. I like it. I we gotta pull back a little bit, right? I think we both kind of are set up for that.
Um, yeah. I mean the really RSI is a little hot, and like I said, there's just nothing in these options indicate that sales are a little bit offsides. So you might want to pull back just to get out of some of this stuff like January 430, 440 puts. They don't need to pull it back that far, but if they drop half of the move last week, then that'll get them pretty close, I think. So
Yeah, for me, I'm an upside trader, so I mean our 411. I'm good at identifying bottom. That's what that's about. Like I'm better at that.
Yeah.
I keep you around for the top side, right?
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
so like 411 was easy for me to identify down there. It's real hard for me to pick spots up here. Um, just going with the history, the bigger picture. I don't think we break out. Yeah, I think you do get another, one more pullback. Maybe not to 430 though. I mean, that number might be 440. Um, and
Yeah.
then your moves start getting a little more rigid like this on the way up, where you get like a little pullback, smaller candles up, little pullback, small. I mean, because this is, if you look at some of these candles here, we're covering too much. You did it back here too. You covered way too much range in a week or two, and you just kind of have to. Man, that was funny because that's November last year. um,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then the big pullback in December, but you still stay with the trend. But yeah, I just think we have to pull back, and the candles eventually need to kind of get a little more tightened up because this is madness right now on this chart. I'm lost. I don't have a problem saying that though because I don't really trade SPY, um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm kind of lost.
Well, I mean, on the how that can correlate to other stocks. I'm not adding a new pivot to MSTR over at 488.67 at 520. I can't reasonably add any new pivots up here. It's just so fast. It's got to build some strength. And I gotta see it. It's got to prove itself up here before I can confidently start touting more upside. You just got to wait for the pullback on a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, no, I agree. And again, I think that's where the sectors are going to come into play in the long
Yeah.
run, because their charts aren't going to be at all-time highs like SPY, or close to
Right. Yeah.
your last 3-year high. Right, you ready to get to work, sir?
Yeah. Let's do it.
All right, perfect.